I'm Doria Fleischer, your Community Engagement Coordinator, and we are excited to be sharing something new with you today. This is a new series we're calling Let's Get Fiscal, because we realized that we haven't done a great job about talking to our residents about all of the things money in Charles County. And obviously money is something that is on everybody's mind. So I'm sitting here with Jake Dyer, and Jake is gonna fill us in on everything. You said, Jake, it's more than just numbers. That was your tagline, right?
Yes, it was.
Excellent. So Jake, start by telling our Charles County residents and neighbors who you are,
Sure.
What you do, how long you've been with the county.
Sure. My name is Jake Dyer. I am the Chief of Budget for Charles County. We are a division underneath the Fiscal Administrative Services Department. Our department ultimately reports to the County Administrator, Mark Belton. I have been with the county since 2002. Actually, it was in May of 2002. Started out as a budget analyst, and since that time, I've slowly progressed up the ladder to now I am the Chief of Budget for Charles County.
That's awesome. And what is your favorite part about your job? What makes you want to get up and get to work every day?
What makes me get up every day? It's a lot of things. You know, I really enjoy my job. I wouldn't still be doing it for 20 years if I didn't enjoy it. But the one thing I love about the job in itself is really the people I work with. Over the years, I've worked with great people. It's always fun. And the best part about my job is that I interact with every single piece of county government, as well as partner agencies like the school system and the sheriff's office and so forth. Is that interaction each day that we work with them to help them with their budgetary needs, to make sure their needs are being met to serve the community.
I'm laughing because you're describing the part that you just described of getting to work with different people. It sounds great to me, but every time you say the word budget or money or finance, I do find myself kind of twitch, because I'm the kind of person that your job feels very overwhelming to me. One of my goals for today is that we kind of break that down. I assume I'm not the only person who's ever said to you that your job seems pretty intense.
Well, yeah, I guess, yes, it can be intense. There's definitely ebbs and flows. Like right now, we're kind of really into the next year's budget process. So this, I would say, is our busy time of the year. But, once we're done this whole budget process, then it's a new task. So it's like, that's another thing that kind of gets me up every day, is that each day is a different day. We have new tasks, but we also have jobs. In each year, during each different time of year, we have different things that we have to accomplish, which allows us to, keep it fresh with us so it's not stale. We're not doing the same thing every day. But when it comes to budget itself, it's really us looking at what the county revenues are looking like, and I know we'll talk more about that, and how we're going to spend those revenues to meet to serve the community.
Awesome. Yeah. And I think one of my goals for this show, right, for Let's Get Fiscal, is that we roll it out enough that each month we kind of do talk about the different things that are happening, because your
right,
job does change, you said. Yeah. Each month has kind of a different focus area, yeah?
Yeah, definitely.
So for today, let's just start with kind of the big overview.
Sure.
Before you break this down for us, and I'm going to warn you, when I ask you to break it down, I'm going to ask you to do it as if you were explaining this to a group of elementary school students, because I want to make sure we make this information really accessible. But before we even do that, can you explain, when I approached you and said, like, I want to share about finance and share about budgeting to the public, and you jumped on board, which I was so happy about, why is it so important for our residents to understand what you're doing, instead of just being like, oh, Jake's got it, our county government's got it? Why is it so important for our residents to have a grasp of what fiscal and admin services is in Charles County?
Well, maybe I'm biased because I'm in the department, but it's important. I think it's important for the average citizen to know what we're doing, is because it shows where their hard-earned tax dollars that they are coming out of their paycheck or their property taxes. This shows how it's being spent, and it shows if it's being spent properly. Because under fiscal administrative services as a whole, it's not just budget. We also have accounting. Accounting is the area that's making sure you're spending the money correctly. We also have payroll. They make sure the employees are being paid correctly. Then we have treasury. They're the ones that are collecting the taxes, but also assisting the residents with maybe tax credits down the road, or collecting other type of revenue sources. Then we have purchasing, which is another department that also ensures that the county is spending their money appropriately with the right vendors and so forth. And then we have IT. Who doesn't love IT? Who doesn't love technology and so forth, to make sure that the technology is there to assist the county staff to make sure, because we're an internal service department, we're really there to serve the departments who are really the front facing to the community.
Gotcha. So I think step one is even that our residents recognize how big
Right.
that umbrella fiscal and admin services is that it covers so many different pieces.
Right.
So I'm going to ask,
Sure.
how would you explain our county's fiscal practices to a group of elementary school students? How could you make this as understandable as possible?
So it's funny you ask. My daughter actually, every year, I have two daughters. One of them, can you do can you go to the school and do career day?
Right.
And every year I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm just, who wants to hear me? Who wants to have a firefighter come up and explain how they're saving a life and have someone from the county budget office explain what they do? But I finally gave in.
Okay.
So I've been mentally preparing how to do this. I haven't done it just
This is
yet.
good practice. This is perfect.
This is great practice to help me explain our practices. So when it comes to county practices, so the county actually has a series of policies that come into play on how we manage our money and so forth. And those policies are kind of run day to day by county staff, but those policies are ultimately set by the county commissioners, which is, so to explain everything like I would to an elementary student is I'm the parent is the commissioners. They tell me they kind of set the rules on how to do the chores, right? But to do those chores, we get paid to do those chores, right? So those chores, we get paid, but to do a whole bunch of those chores, it costs to do those chores. So we gotta get the money from the commissioners, and then we can then spend it, but I am the one that helps decide how that money is being spent. So I look at, on our county website, we have an amazing dollar bill that every time I talk to another partner agency from like another county government, they see my dollar bill. They're like, where did you get that dollar bill from? I'm like, we made it up. Our media division, our great media division created that dollar bill for us. But that dollar bill shows that for every dollar that the county generates in tax revenue, where that dollar is spent. So of that dollar, 50% of that dollar, I'm just going to use round numbers here, 50% of that dollar goes to the school system and manages the day-to-day operations of the school system. So it pays for the bus that comes to pick up your child at the bus stop. It pays for the teacher's salary that is teaching your child. It pays for the books and the gym class and the music class and all that, how it runs to operate a school system. So 50% of your tax dollar goes there. Then we also have other avenues, like just say 25% of a quarter of every dollar goes towards public safety. So it pays for that police officer to be there to assist you when the time is needed. It pays for that EMT to come to give you an ambulance ride if needed and so forth. And then there's another quarter that pays for the day-to-day operations of county government, like make sure that road is being maintained and cleared when it's snow and so forth. So that's how. And I'm still going to fine-tune my presentation to the elementary.
This is good. This is good.
I will explain the dollar and how for every dollar the county generates, where that dollar goes and why it's important, and how we spend that money to ensure that the money is being spent wisely. So,
and I think this is something that causes a huge amount of confusion in our county. So I don't want to make things more confusing. I'm hoping it makes things more accessible. You're talking about the dollar and so much money going to the schools and so much money going to the sheriff's office.
Right.
But county government is not the schools or the sheriff's office.
We are not.
Can you explain that a little bit?
Sure. So county government, which really consists of your public works department, your emergency services department, there's community services, recreation, parks and tourism, economic development, HR, planning, growth management, and some other little pocket of divisions in county government. Those departments report to the county administrator, who is Mark Belton, who then reports to the commissioners. But of that monies, that really goes to pay to make sure for recreation after school activities, for parks to make sure the ball field is lined up correctly when your child needs to go play soccer or football or baseball and so forth, or any other type of recreational activities. Community services, that really pays for a lot of aging programs, as well as housing. There's a housing division under community services. and we also have other type of departments that really provide service to the community that is beneficial to them that they might not see on a day-to-day basis, but it's embedded in all our lives to make sure, like, if there wasn't a public works department, then there would be no road for you to get in your car to drive to work.
These are all those
every day.
necessary things we need to live, work, and play in Charles County.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the sheriff's office and the school gets money, and
Yes.
you help determine
Yes.
how they get it. But we don't have any oversight of that in county government, correct?
Well, yes and no. So we do have oversight. So there's definitely oversight. It's just that they have they get money from us, but we kind of have oversight on them, but they have a little more authority on how that money is spent. So at the school system, we give them money to operate their budget. And now keep in mind, the school system gets state money. That state money doesn't come through the county. That just goes right to the school system. So they get, let's say, 50% of their revenues from the county government, 50% of their revenues from the school system. But what the county commissioners do have oversight that we assist with is when they set their budget by category, okay? And if they want to move money from different categories, they have to have the commissioners approve that. So that's the checks and balances to make sure that money is spent. But the school system has their own board of education. That school system determines how that money is actually going to be spent when they set up that original budget. So they're the ones that determine how much is going towards teacher salaries, how much is going towards the bus contract, and so forth. Now, when it comes to the sheriff's office, he's a body of one. He's the sheriff. He's the elected sheriff. He's the one that reports to the citizens. But what happens is the sheriff's office, their day-to-day operations flow through the county's operating financial system. Okay, so they have a budget line item set up just like they're a county government, but he really helps decide, how much money is going to. When I say he, I'm saying the actual sheriff, but not the agency. The whole group. Right. They have their own entire staff. They have a fiscal department over there. They help decide where that money is going, and then we assist them with managing those funds. But at the end of the day, those financial transactions show up on the county government's audit report.
Interesting. Okay, so you've got all these different pieces. That dollar bill gets stretched a fair amount of different ways. So off of that, what are the things? In a minute, I'm going to ask you, how Charles County gets money to spend that dollar. But it sounds like we spend our money on a lot of different stuff. The school system, the county government divisions, departments, and then the sheriff's office, yeah?
Yes.
Am I missing anything else that our money goes towards?
Oh, yeah. Our money goes towards other things.
Fill me in.
So the state's attorney's office, he gets money from the county. We have the health department. They get money from us to help manage their day-to-day operations. Again, they get state revenues. The election board, the county pays 100% of the cost to run an election for the election board. There's also some little tiny other agencies that the county receives money. One of them would be the Soil Conservation District. There's the Circuit Court, which receives money from us. The Charitable Trust, we give money to the Charitable Trust, and they're the ones that help decide where those monies are going to nonprofit agencies. So our monies goes to a lot of different areas.
It gets stretched. So how do we get that to go into the revenue piece, the money that comes in?
Right.
We have to stretch that dollar so far. How do we get that money when people say, what are you spending my taxpayer dollars on?
Right.
Yeah.
So we have many different revenue sources that comes to the county. Our largest revenue source is property taxes. So property taxes are generated based on the assessed value of a residential home or a commercial property. We get that, and that comes out on if you own a home in Charles County, you get a tax bill in July, and then you pay that in 2 installments, one by September 30th, one by the end of the calendar year. So that is our largest revenue source. Okay. But we also get other revenues. One is income taxes. So the income taxes is coming out of your hard-earned paycheck that comes out, and then we get that from the state on a monthly basis. They're the ones that actually collect the income taxes for us. Property taxes, we are the ones collecting the revenue, but income taxes, the money goes to the state, and the state says, all right, Charles County, this is how much of this money's that comes to you.
Okay, gotcha.
But we also have other revenues that maybe are that are smaller, but are still a big player to Charles County. One is this what we call recordation and transfer taxes.
Okay.
Those are revenues that come from when a home is purchased or sold from one person to another. And then we also have fees that the county charges that help support the day-to-day operations of county government. And then on top of all that, we also have what we call enterprise funds.
Okay.
So an enterprise fund is a fund that we don't put into the general fund, but it really is a fund that we set the revenue fee to pay for the expense. So certain revenue enterprise funds we have, like our largest one would be the Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund. That's really, if you live in let's say Waldorf and you're on the county's water and sewer system, you pay every quarter a fee for the water you use, but we're the ones that help determine what that fee should be based on a per gallon usage.
So that I'm only paying what I actually use. I'm not paying for my neighbors. That's strictly, the enterprise is strictly my own usage.
That's a great way of putting it. And what we do is we set that fee to break even.
Okay.
So it's not a fund to generate money to make it like it's a business. It's like treated like a business in a way that we want to make sure we're covering our costs, but we set it so we're just covering our costs. We're not trying to get a net gain at the end to pay a shareholder.
So I think I'm simplifying this. Tell me if I'm on the right track.
Sure.
Charles County has all the water, and I say, I need this much water, and you say, okay, that much water is only going to cost you that much.
Correct.
If I want this much water, it's going to cost me that much. I'm paying for my portion of what Charles County's paying for the whole. Okay,
yes,
gotcha.
That's a good way of saying it.
This is why we want to save water.
Yes. And we also have the landfill. That's considered an enterprise fund. So again, if you use the landfill, you're only paying to cover the cost to operate the landfill.
Gotcha.
Another enterprise fund that the county has is recycling, and that is a fee that comes on your property tax bill, but that pays for the curbside collection to come by your house to pick up your blue bin or to take your recycling to a recycling center that's in various parts of Charles County.
This is always a big fight in my house because my feeling is we have to pay to go to the landfill, but recycling's already paid for, which is why we try to recycle everything. And I'm the one going through the trash like, no, that's not trash, that's recycling.
Right.
So both because I'm a green person, but also because I don't want to spend more money to go to the landfill if recycling is going to pick it up and I've already paid for it, right?
That's a great way of saying it.
Thank you. I knew I was right on that one. Any other ways that we get in or spend money that you think people should know about?
We do get, revenue from the state. The state, we do get grants from the state that helps pay for special purposes. But the thing with grants is when you get the grant from the state or from the federal agency, it's kind of tied to a certain expense. You just can't get the state grant and say, yay, we're going to spend it as we wish. You got to say this is what we're spending it on, and you got to report it to that agency to say, hey, we got $200,000 for this purpose. Here's how we spent it, and this is what we did.
And that falls under you also of being able to do that reporting back.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So
gotcha.
Yes, I have a grants person in my office that helps work with the departments and agencies. They're the ones departments and agencies are the one that kind of submit the request for a grant, but we're the ones that make sure they're reporting, make sure it's all being tied correctly in the financial system.
So going back to that parent example you used at the very beginning, you're kind of, we can use the money, but somebody in charge still needs to be like, did you spend that correctly? Did you put that away? Did you return the car keys? Did you do your job? Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So Jake, I want to continue this conversation, and in our next episode, we're going to talk about property tax specifically, because I know that's a hot topic right now, and people saying, why are my property taxes so high? We're going to talk about that. And throughout the year, I want to talk about other things that are hot topics around budgeting and finance and money in Charles County. And my goal in doing that is that our residents get more educated, but then also are more empowered to be involved and understand. For today, with that big overview that you just gave, what is one thing that you wish our Charles County residents would walk away from this conversation knowing that would make them either more informed, better citizens? Like, what's one thing that if you could stand on the rooftops and say, I want every single person to know, what would it be?
I would like them to have a better understanding where the money goes.
Okay.
So they need to, so they know that, the money that's coming out of their paycheck or they're paying their property taxes. I would like them to know where that money's being spent, and I would also want them to feel ensured that the money's being spent correctly.
Gotcha. So that idea of like somebody actually is watching. This isn't just like you get a this and you get a this Oprah style, but this really is like we know what we're doing and we're trying really hard to do it well.
Correct.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you so much, Jake. So we're going to be back for more episodes of Let's Get Fiscal with Jake Dyer. Thank you so much for tuning in today so that you can become more involved and more engaged and more knowledgeable about it's more than just money in Charles County.